President Joe Biden is back in Poland this morning following his surprise trip to Ukraine to meet with President Volodimir Zelensky, marking the one-year anniversary of the war with Russia. President Biden's visit reiterated America's commitment to supporting the war-torn country.
The cost that Ukraine has had to bear has been extraordinarily high, and the sacrifices have been far too great.
And President Biden traveled to the capital city of Kyiv, which is where we find our next guest, James Elder, who is with UNICEF, which has been on the ground since the war broke out last year. So good morning to you, James. Thank you for joining us this morning live on the ground. Good to see you. So what is the mood right now in Kyiv following President Biden's surprise visit? Did it provide hope not only for the people of Ukraine, really, but also the relief workers who have been there on the front lines day in and day out?
Yeah, look, I think, Dan, it's a sense of the great fear among Ukrainians, wherever you are, is that they might be forgotten, that people might literally turn the channel, change the channel. But of course, they keep living through a horror story. And as you heard President Biden say there, unimaginable suffering that they've taken on. So a visit of that high level, I think, reminds people that Ukraine is front and center, and humanitarian support for people is front and center. And the Ukrainians have and continue day in, day out to bear a huge amount. I mean, attacks continue on a daily basis, and their resolve is quite extraordinary. But yet, yes, to see the leader of the United States here, I think certainly reminds people that they are not forgotten around the world.
Did the president tour any of the UNICEF sites while he was there?
I'm not sure, but I mean, UNICEF supports 5 million people plus with clean water, 5 million more with various health services. He may well have come across some of those services. I hope so.
The president talked about giving some more military aid, of course, to the president there. But can you give us a little overview of the conditions on the ground 1 year later, especially when it comes to those who live there, children, families, right, and what exactly their needs are?
Yeah, look, it's awful. I mean, this morning I was in a hospital. I was in a hospital a year ago when this war started, and today in a hospital. And I'm talking to a 15-year-old boy who is clever, who is articulate, who is brave, and who is sitting there with his body tormented by shrapnel. Explaining to me what it feels like to have shrapnel burn through your body. Wow. Down the corridor from him is a little 2-year-old girl who seems paralyzed, doctors fear, from the waist down. These injuries to children, to boys and girls, continue as long as we keep seeing heavy weapons in civilian areas. So at its most brutal, heartbreaking perspective, that's what life looks like. Others are trying to get on with life. Others are trying to get to school and trying to live some semblance of a normal life. But at any moment, there's an air raid siren, and those boys and girls are underground again with that look on their face to their mum and dad of, really? Still? Again?
Wow. So children are able to go to school? Is there any kind of a curfew?
Yeah, Hazel, they are. It was a big push UNICEF made late last year. We did everything from reinforcing bunkers to putting Wi-Fi in bunkers and lighting and power, but not everywhere, of course. There's tens of thousands of schools. The government has a rule that you can only have as many children go to school as can fit in a bunker during an air raid. So some children go, some do that online mix that we saw around the world in COVID. Everyone wants that moment to be back with their friends, and parents need a break. But the reality is, depending on where you are in the country, you're still at war.
I mean, that's got to be terrifying, right? Did you kind of do those drills and put you into shelters? Now, so many people back here in the United States, they know what UNICEF does. They know so many of the drives that schools have here, right, for UNICEF to collect money, to donate. Where is that money being used on the ground?
Yeah, and I have to say heartfelt thanks too, by the way, to all your viewers and everyone else. It does make an enormous difference. I see that from the front lines, Dan, literally from when we take vans, smaller vans, to go to frontline areas to take nutrition supplies or blankets or recreation kits or like hygiene kits for people, or big supplies to hospitals, maternity hospitals, resuscitation kits, education supplies to more than 1 million children, 250,000 households getting some form of cash. Because amid all this, there's a financial crisis for mums and dads as they've had to move. So it's the full gamut of support, and it's greatly appreciated because, UNICEF does what it does on the back of the generosity of everyday people.
Yeah, what are the biggest needs right now, and what else can we do from here to help?
Yeah, I mean, Hazel, it is because there is, it all is donor funded, then any money goes to that. I think the biggest needs but we've said this from day one, is for this heavy weaponry in civilian areas to stop it. It's a political move. It's clearly not happening. So UNICEF is to get children to safe places. It's to make sure hospitals have the type of support they need. Like I saw this morning, counsellors. Hazel, is absolutely enormous. The mental stress on children, the trauma that they are enduring from what they've seen and learning that the world can be really unstable and a terrible place. That type of counselling is so important so that these children don't get trauma on top of trauma. So, you know, from clean water to a blanket to school books and a counsellor, it's everything for a nation of children still under attack.
Understood. James, appreciate you coming to us live this morning from Ukraine, and appreciate all that you are doing for the folks there as well, and giving us an update and the incredible work that UNICEF continues to do day in and day out. Appreciate your time.